So the sea people are now arriving with guns. As in, the boat people, the migrants coming over from France, much like the Mediterranean.
And people say they bring nothing to this country.
No, these doctors and
But they
engineers, they're bringing gun rights back to the United Kingdom, which is why I welcome this news.
Right.
Because if we're going to get our gun rights back, it's by making the UK an inhospitable place where you need a gun to walk to the shops. So 4D chess, I guess. Let's do it.
Yes. It could go wrong where they all have guns and we still don't. And we just have to call some sort of dystopian police that comes too late.
I mean, we're halfway there already, so
that's true.
Take the gamble, I guess. Flip
I
a
just
coin.
described London.
But anyway, we shall mention first just an announcement being the Konstantin Kisin's An Immigrant's Love Letter to the West book club we did, and this being in regards to this, obviously, in the respect that Konstantin, being an immigrant, is not pro no borders, because, well, what's there to immigrate to if you just open the borders? And Konstantin makes some very good arguments there. But
Although he did come over on a dinghy, he told me.
did he?
Yeah.
With a gun,
Yeah.
screaming.
He's done well. He's done well since.
Anyway, but go and check that out. In fact, you can go and check out his
Success story.
family history of slavery as well, which is not the usual one you're hearing. But we'll go to the next link here, because this whole story kind of reminded me of this Family Guy sketch. Do you remember this? I don't know if you ever watched Family Guy, but a man with a gun and 2 bullets has taken over the city of Manchester, announced Tom Tucker at one point, and
That is great.
It seems to be true, because the next link, please, we can see the sea people are turning up with guns as they write a national security risk in the headline here. They did have a previous headline being that they're entering the UK with guns and pocket knives. Well, there's got to be pocket knives. Get a real knife, losers. They're saying here, Britain's security has been put at risk because hundreds of channel migrants, I kind of hate that term, illegal aliens, return to tradition. I hate this softening of the language. But anyway, have disappeared before having their fingerprints or photographs even recorded. Some migrants have entered the UK carrying guns and pocket knives, where they were confiscated on arrival in Dover. So,
now, isn't there a flaw of the pocket knife that if it falls out your pocket, pops your dinghy? I mean, when did dinghies get so unstoppable and indestructible? When I grew up, you could just pop them. You know what I mean? They deflated. Now they're sort of warships that we can't stop.
No, physically impossible. I mean, the entire Her Majesty's ships are just useless.
We used to have the greatest navy in the world. Now it's 2 dinghies and a guy with a pocket knife.
Although there was, I'm going to say a funny story because I literally don't care at this point, of a grown man in France who had been rejected for asylum in France because the French government looked at him and went, here's your history, you're clearly taking the piss, please go home to Egypt. Like, you're taking the mickey, you have no reason to be here. And he got very annoyed at that. So him and his mate stole a dinghy and then stole 2 metal shovels and then tried to literally splash their way across to England. They got all of a mile until the metal shovel went through the plastic dinghy and popped it. And he drowned in the sea. And then the French press, his mate lied to everyone and said he was 15. Please have sympathy for us. And he was like, no, he was 30. Like, if you did that tomorrow and tried to go over to France in a little metal shovel, I feel like you'd get taken the mickey out of, and rightfully so, for being a moron.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy did as well.
But it does show you how easily the crisis could be solved. A couple of shovels.
We're just going to start leaving shovels on the beaches and just be like, sure, just leave them. They don't know.
This is satire, obviously, guys. Just total satire.
But they say in here, some migrants even entered the UK carrying guns and pocket knives, which were confiscated over, as I just read. David Neal, the Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, called out the Home Office's systematic failure to register migrants' biometric data. In 6 months, 227 people who were not fully registered fled, quote, secure hotels. Why would you do that? You're a refugee from, North Korea. I mean, if you get sent back, it's literally concentration camp time. So you get to the UK, and what do? Immediately flee the hotel because you are legitimate. No, these people are not North
Some
Korean
of those
refugees.
travel lodge breakfasts, mate. I'm like, the scrambled eggs, I've thought about fleeing sometimes.
I don't think it's worth going back to a concentration camp or a war, which these people aren't. They are literally just taking the piss, and we have the data on it as well, which is why they're fleeing. But they say in here the numbers, which again just get worse every single year. Last year, 28,000 arrived. The year before, it was only 8,000. And the year before that, it was only 1,800. And a couple of years before that, this wasn't a thing either. So there you have it. In fact, we now actually have a new record. Congratulations, new world record for illegal entries by boat.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it 430 in a day? There you go.
Yeah.
430. I was impressed by the new record. It is a lot like a sport. They should let trans people compete. When's that going to happen? We need trans people on the dinghies.
I think we need a women's team first. So far, it's just men. So.
You're right. It's mainly sort of violent-looking men of working age with pocket knives. But then we need to extend it to violent women. and then other women, and then violent trans people, and then trans people.
That doesn't happen.
No, you're right. There's no such thing.
Perfectly
Sorry.
legitimate refugees. However, we have the data on this, and for why I'm being so callous for people who might be new to all this is because the data is just unbelievably piss-takey at this point.
You've also been callous because it's kind of who you are, but like, I'm joking.
Genuinely, just like there are loads of circumstances about migration where there is, sincere reasons to care and to be sympathetic to the individuals, even if they're doing it illegally. But I mean, like this one is, on one scale, you've got North Koreans who illegally break into China because they're starving, right? Mm-hmm. Who could ever be upset with them? It makes perfect sense. And then we do our best as the West to get them out of China and into the West to be safe. Like, we literally take thousands, and South Korea does their work as well, of course. Whereas you have these guys who flee war-torn France for the UK because... with nothing. There's no reason. I mean, it really is just the most comical thing you ever get to. And Migration Watch has some funny data on this. Quick facts. So quick fire round. Data point number 1, 50,000 migrants have been detected illegally crossing since 2018. Wonderful. Another 50,000 to add to the migration figures. These are the illegal people as well, who will just disappear as soon as they're told they're not legitimate. 7 in 10 of the men are between the ages of 18 to 38, which is, 7 in 10 of those coming are men in between those ages. So there you have it. The other 3, presumably lying about their age. Number 3 point, 98% have no passport. Who knows where that passport might be? Maybe the bottom of the ocean. Maybe in the channel. Maybe they just left it at home. No, they throw it in the sea. I don't know if you've seen the TikToks. Like, no. They literally post TikToks.
Are these people on TikTok? Wow.
Yeah.
Are they as big as Andrew Tate yet?
I don't think that big. But there's, an endless list of them showing themselves, all smiling, they're getting in, and then throwing their passports into the sea.
Wow.
They show you on TikTok.
You've made me feel bad now, Callum, because of our satire before. But when you see something like that, you don't. Yeah, I've seen them actually throwing stuff and laughing and stuff, and then you get angry. But then at the same time, of course, it's obviously people trafficking is horrible and all that. You maybe had to say that now, because now I feel bad for the people that are fleeing something.
I mean, the people traffickers are definitely bad, but these guys are paying them $5,000 to break into a country that they have no legitimacy to, from a country they've already broken into and also had no legitimacy to.
Well, there is that.
So I really am out of Fs to give. Number 4, 1 in 6 boat crossers already claimed asylum elsewhere. That's the ones that admit they've claimed asylum. Most of them have already claimed asylum and then just don't admit it when they get here, which is why you also get the majority of them saying they're Iranian. They're not, but it's a good excuse. And number 5, 0 are directly coming from a place of persecution.
Yeah, that was key, the place of persecution thing. I mean, of course, if you're an English person in France, that is a place of persecution, and we should be allowed to come back because,
you've gone down on the world.
Yeah. Well, imagine having to be with all those French people. For us, that would be. But for a lot of people, France is like a great country.
I think it's meant to be a step up from Morocco. I mean, I don't know if it is these days. I haven't been in a while, but, I've heard. Apparently it is meant to be some kind of higher GDP per capita, perhaps.
Yeah, it's one notch up from Morocco.
Yeah, there we are. Although it's not just the fact that, of course, it's 0 people coming from these directly from somewhere they're actually being persecuted, but you also have Breitbart breaking the news that deported criminals, criminals we deported in the UK, are also coming across. This is a case that's been found. Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons has confirmed that at least one migrant who had previously received a prison term for more than 12 months and was deemed to pose a medium risk of harm to others has crossed the channel and ended up being in a house hosting women and children. Perfect. Wonderful. I mean, yeah, there you have it. And that's the one they found. And that's in, as you can see, 21 to 22 report there. And the numbers are going to be much higher, of course. And as I've made the point repeatedly, this is not Ji-Yun Park. I mean, this is a lady we've interviewed before who fled North Korea, had to go through concentration camps, break out into slavery in China, and then was able to get to the UK.
And not only the UK, but my mum's hometown of Bury. And I didn't know you'd interviewed her. That's amazing. I read an extract from her book, and it's unbelievable.
Which is on sale now.
On sale now. And it's actually worse than you thought North Korea was. That's the incredible thing. It's like extreme poverty. It's your neighbors can grass you up and you lose everything for no reason. We knew that sort of, but the details, there's a part where they find some egg. The dad brings home some eggs, but they have to eat them all at once, like something like Cool Hand Luke or something. They eat like loads of eggs because if anyone finds they've got them, they're in massive trouble for having these eggs.
Yeah,
it's and that's just a tiny fraction of it. I just remember thinking, wow, this is even worse than I thought North Korea was. And it's no surprise when she came to England, she's a conservative.
Yeah, she, funnily enough, didn't want to join the Socialist Party.
Although I will
say,
say, I don't know if you scroll down, David Lammy is quoted on the cover of a book, which I thought was a bit much. It's like, all right, commie. Do you know what I mean? Like, chill out, bro. But then again, I thought, well, he's been to the Bilderberg group recently. Maybe he's just LARPing as a sort of far lefty. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe
What's
he's
Lammy doing? That would annoy me. If I was part.
Then again, maybe Ji Yoon Park is just trying to red pill him, just being like, how about you stop being a commie? Actually read about it.
Yeah.
So who knows? But there we are. That's the point I'm making here, though, is that for every place that gets taken up by these C people who are just illegitimate chances, I mean, just the data shows it, you take a place away from someone like her. I mean, this is the politics of sympathy that really needs to be taken into account. The person in front of you, the channel migrants, of course we'll let them in. They've had a hard life. No, they haven't. They haven't had anything compared to these people who really genuinely need your help, and instead we can't fund them to come over here from China, where they literally live in slavery, because, Abdul in France needs a place. Don't you know he's in France? Absolutely horrifying. He might be sent back to a Moroccan concentration camp by the French government. Not going to happen. It's not a thing. So I just hate it. But you might wonder who the hell are the people who are, helping these folks. Well, we can see some of them in Care for Calais here. This is a charity group, as they tell themselves. And as you can see, actively campaigning against the Rwandan plan to actually solve this issue. Because, of course, they just want endless open borders, ideologically. However, there is, of course, another motive for all these groups. Can you guess?
Is it money?
It's money. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Not even prepped.
No, it's every time the money. And we could just see it because, of course, these are all charities. They'll have to publish their records, which you could just find on Companies House or on the Charity Commission here. So if you scroll down on this one, I don't know if it'll come up on your screen, but it should do, in which they had £877,000 in income last year. Beautiful money if you can get it. And they managed to spend £586,000 on various activities. I'm not going to take a huge guess, but the charitable activities they're saying here, I'm going to try and guess it's lawyers. The people who are actively fighting in court to stop the Rwanda plan. What do you think they're spending their money on? I mean, in my mind, I imagine it's very expensive human rights lawyers.
And I want to know what other is. 7.88k other.
Very wonderful. They say in here they've got 8 trustees and 1,500 volunteers. So I mean, that's the level of cringe idiots you can literally find.
Great business model.
Work for you for free. And they're not the only ones, of course. The Taxpayers Alliance actually digged up something on this. As you can see here, they document £50 million of taxpayers' money was paid to lobbying groups and political campaigning groups. But in here, £7.7 million was given to organisations actively fighting the government scheme to resettle migrants in Rwanda, including Migrant Help, Stonewall, Refugee Action, and Hope Not Hate, and Insta Law as well. But we'll get to Hope Not Hate another time, I suppose. But
this is what really annoys me. These people working against the money, but also working against this policy. This seems to be a reasonable policy. It's not perfect as a policy, but I've looked at where they go in Rwanda. It's not this terrible thing that people make it out. But it's the same as the ECHR blocking those flights. It's like, who actually runs the country? If our elected government can't enact a policy because of all these groups, including the ECHR and all these secret groups, it's semi-secret. You know what I mean? Who's running the country? We can't. There's no democracy if our elected representatives can't enact policies.
If our representatives actually can't represent us, then what's the whole point in all of this?
Right.
I mean, for all the problems you may have with the Conservative Party, the people voted for them unbelievably in high numbers to solve these kind of issues, and they have the mandate. And there you have it, the elected representatives. And then you have the British state, who are just sitting around handing out our money to anyone to oppose our elected representatives' plans and how to solve these problems.
And people are probably saying, Nick, it's kind of a naive point, but when it gets to this level, it's like you can't even enact your immigration policy because Europe step in. I'm like, what?
Or because some civil servant has just decided to give £7 million.
Yes, to other.
to literally a bunch of leftists to try and help fight our own elected government, which, that's not normal. And really, we should keep it in mind and something that should be fought. But we can go and check out the organisations in question and their filing history. So I don't know if you can let up on these, John. You might not need to because they're just big, long letters. But on the filing history and the most recent one for all of these, this is Refugee Action's Company House page, in which they say their income increased over the last year from 2.7 million to 8.8 million. Very good year for them. Presumably, as Taxpayers Alliance mentioned, getting cash from us to then fight the government's own elected plans to get rid of this stuff. If you go to the next link, we have Migrant Help, the other group that was mentioned on there. Their income went up to 1.03 million this year. Wonderful work if you can get it. They made a profit of £500,000.
Great business.
get our money, literally to sit on it, so they can invest it and then continue to pay their own selves. Wonderful. Stonewall, of course, the ever-present.
Everyone's favorite secret organization. Stonewall are so far left. There's this guy, Simon Fanshawe, I work with on a GB show, Headliners sometimes. Perfectly polite, but he's so far left. He founded Stonewall, or co-founded, but he left it because it was going too mental. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that means. Like, this guy's the most left guy I've ever met. And I'm going, no, they're a bit too much for me. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know it went further.
Because that's the thing as well. There's like the public conversation. If he's in there, he's hearing the private conversations as well.
Right.
Which I imagine must be way worse than even the public nonsense.
That's a good point. It's another level again. Yeah, all the woke stuff just got too much for him. And I'm like, you've created a monster. I have said it to him that it is all his fault. But yeah, and they secretly run the BBC, basically.
Yeah.
With their weird Ponzi scheme. Oh, you can get higher up in our chart of Stonewall-approved groups. How'd you get it? Oh, you pay Stonewall. Oh, that's a good idea.
It's good protection money.
Yeah, you're right.
But I also want to take a minute, because I know in politics, on the left and the right, there are endlessly like accusations from people, oh my God, this person or that person is a grifter. And it's usually unfounded, because people just, most people are just honest in the political sphere. There are people who are obviously dishonest, but it's very rare. But with groups like this, I mean, I think grifter is probably the right term to use.
Yeah.
I mean, organizations that are literally scamming money off the people constantly.
It's like our version of the Southern Poverty Law Center or something like that. Yeah, and I hate it when people on the right and stuff get called grifters, or people doing like a podcast and they've alienated all their friends and lost their jobs. Like, that's not a grifter.
That's a pretty bad grift.
Right.
Whereas getting literally millions of pounds from the taxpayer to oppose the elected government, that's a really good grift. I mean, how do you even do that? I mean, the opposition party to your ideology wins power and you get more money from the state. I mean, that is some next level lobbying.
Yeah,
sure.
It's funny that Boris mentioned the deep state the other day, wasn't it, in a speech?
Yeah.
And he might have done it in sort of an ironic way, but it is real, isn't it?
But Kemi's mentioned as well, these lobbying groups that turn up and just get funding. Well, there you are. Stonewall, they managed to get £11.5 million last year. Wonderful. They still managed to lose 1.3 million net.
That went to other.
Yes, of course, including the other. But I love how much money just sloshes around. And you might think, if you're America especially, super PACs, the advertising out there, I mean, the money is everywhere and it's ridiculous. But in the UK, the amount of money that sloshes around in these places is, quite low in comparison. But then to get any money for any of these groups, I mean, what do they actually do? I mean, what kind of advancements are they actually helping with people in the UK with this state money and donations that they get? They literally just oppose the elected government and virtue signal on Twitter. That's worth 11 million. Fantastic.
Well, they also, that's not fair, Callum, because Stonewall also manipulate BBC content behind the scenes, so they do quite a lot of work. I mean, they're all day in the BBC dictating content.
And they're bouncers.
That's a full-time job.
That certainly is. You've got me there.
And if any of this is libelous, you can probably beep it out.
No, literally. I mean, we have the inside works from BBC journalists who are just like, yeah, we had to pass things through Stonewall.
Well, that Stephen Nolan piece was brilliant if you haven't listened to it. I mean, it's a BBC guy exposing the BBC, talking to Stonewall, and he asks, he goes and asks the editor from Pink News, what's Two-Spirit? I don't even know what that is. And then the guy doesn't know either. And it's like, oh.
But he's a guy from Northern Ireland who had to expose Westminster, essentially.
Yes.
That's a very important point that people don't seem to pick up on. It's like people outside of that bubble.
Good point.
But anyway, so just moving on, who else gets money out of this? Of course, Domino's are doing very well. I say, of course. This should be normal. There we are, 39 grand. Has been spent on Domino's pizzas for these chaps because
and this is the police going up to the migrants saying, have a ham and pineapple, bro. Basically.
That's a bit cruel. Pineapple.
Well, come on, mate.
No.
Do you know what? This was so mental that we're spending nearly 40 grand giving them pizzas. But then I thought, under Labour, they'll get a cardo. Do you know what I mean? It'll be worse. It'll be more money, more middle class. Do you know what I mean? They'll be like, it's barbaric that we give them Domino's. That'll be their manifesto.
Yeah, but it'll be Ben & Jerry's, really, won't it? Because I'm sure Ben & Jerry's are very butthurt about the fact that all their endless whining about the fact that we don't just let anyone into this country. If you go to the next one, please, John, then you can see, in which we have them whining, oh my God, how dare you do this? They're fleeing climate change. Shut up. Shut up, you actual losers.
How can you flee climate change?
Get on a dinghy, that's how, presumably.
It's
the climate change in
tall
France.
Mountain.
Yeah. Although the Home Office is actually trying to do things in response. I know we talked about the story a lot, and that's because it just never ends and gets worse and worse in this country. However, I do want to note that they've actually done things. It's just not been effective. And I thought we'd just note some of those things, which are funny. So we have one here, life sentences for small boat pilots to come into force. It's There you are. This was last month. Anyone who actually pilots the boat is going to get life in prison. At least those powers have come in. And then the next one, I also find really funny. They brought a 400 grand drone so they could find the boats and try and turn them back to the French in the French waters.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. What the drone actually was supposed to do. Was it like China? Did it just circle around saying, "Give up your thirst for freedom"? Like, how did it? Did it just put them off? Like, England's actually rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It's just a load of Gregs. Like, what did it? Or could it shoot at them? Did it buzz around their heads? How did it work?
I mean, we'd have loads of ideas about how it should have worked.
Yes.
But my understanding is it would just note where they are and then try and alert the French to get them back.
Right.
But not that was going to work anyway.
But what it actually did, I don't want to spoil it, was fall in the sea, I believe.
If we could scroll down, you could see some random fishermen rang across it as well. They were just like, well, that's a big fish. And took it home. Like the Ukrainian farmers. They're just discovering these wonderful machines of the sea out there. So good luck to those lads in reselling it back to the government. I hope they get a good price.
400 grand in the sea. That could have gone to Stonewall.
But then the last one here is just the most pathetic of things. They tried a new £50 million deal with the French to tackle the crossings. And it's like, what are we going to do? We're gonna give them the French money, and they've promised to stop it. Money well spent. They say in here, the sources said it would be similar to the last £54 million deal that paid for more patrol, surveillance, border security, and asylum camps away on the northern French coast, which worked. Which is why we don't have this problem anymore. I mean, I'm sorry, I know it's just sad at this point. What if we give the French more money? They've promised to stop it this time. It's like paying the Danes to go back to Norway.
Yeah, I can't trust the French. First rule.
But there we are. There's just the net effect of the fact that either the net effect of how we solve this is either the French do agree to start taking them back, which they won't because they've got too many already. They're happy to put the burden on us. Or the Rwandan plan, which, of course, is full of legal troubles as well. But honestly, I mean, at this point, I mean, the British government are even actually just looking at breaking international law just to solve it. I mean, like pulling away from the HRC and just going, no, we're just going to start forcing them back. Who cares? Which
What's your solution, Callum? Because this is a pretty heavy black pill for me, and I'm quite tired today. You've hit me. You've hit me. I'm like, God, this is depressing. What's your solution that doesn't get us banned from YouTube?
Well, either repeal all the laws that stop the Rwandan plan and then just do it, which is, one way of doing things, or you literally just start forcing them back and militarize the sea, which is also on the table.
It's worked for us in the past.
Yeah, it's just do you have the stones to do it? And I guess we'll see if they do. But
yeah, Britannia rules the waves. That was a thing, wasn't it?
Once upon a time. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the book clubs we do, this one on Konstantin, Kisin's and Immigrant's Love Letter to the West. And if you want to follow what else I'm putting out, you can follow me on Getter at Callum on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.